Morning, grade 5. This morning we're going to be learning about temperature. If you turn to your book if you open up your textbook on page 130 to 131, we will be learning about temperature and why temperature is so important. In our daily lives, as we go about our daily lives, we will actually rely on temperature for most of the things that we do. Anyone tell me why temperature is so important? Yes, that's right. Okay, so we will use temperature for cooking. We can't have food that is not cooked and we're eating it raw. We will also decide on the temperature outside depending on what clothes we wear. We will use temperature for cleaning. When we bath, our water will be hot to make sure that all the dirt comes off. And we will also use temperature if we are sick. That will measure up our different types of temperatures. Another thing I want to discuss with you before we carry on, there are different types of thermometers. Thermometers measure temperature. You will get analog thermometers. This is one that will be used to cook meat. You will see you can have all the different types of food on the side, and it'll tell you the temperature that it's supposed to be cooked at. Another one that we will do is this is an oven. This will also measure temperature, and it will tell you whether you need the oven to be at 180, 150, 200, 250 degrees, 300 degrees. And this is a digital thermometer. This is what we're using now for all our COVID testing. You will put it against the person's skin or close to their skin, and it will come up with a digital recording, and that will tell you what temperature the person is. In the old days, or still today, they will use a temperature thermometer that they put under your tongue. That is an analog, and it's full of mercury, and it will give you your reading depending on how it is heated up. Right, so if you have a look here, we can use the types of thermometer we use are for medical, and you will use it when you're ill. Those thermometers will either be digital or they will be analog. You can use it in the oven, like I showed you these ones for cooking, or where you're braaiing outside, or this one you literally stick into your piece of meat and it'll measure from the bottom and read on the top what the temperature gauge is. Then you've got your digital thermometer. This is what scans your temperature. And then you get your outdoor thermometer, which you will see hanging on a wall outside in some houses, and that will tell you the average temperature of the sun or the cold or the heat outside in your garden or next to your house. So that's a very important thing to look out for, is the types of thermometers that we use. Let me put that over here. Now, what I want to show you is temperature. This is the temperature that water freezes at. If you have a look on your temperature gauge, there will always be lines running up the side which will represent different temperatures, and you will see 0. That is where water freezes, is where it turns from a liquid into a solid. It becomes ice. As you go down the bottom, you will see it'll be -10, -20. You see some very cold countries overseas like Canada and that, they will get minus temperatures. We will maybe go down to -5 in Johannesburg, Northwest Province, and that will read below 0. It'll be over here. All right, so that is where water freezes at 0 degrees. Water boils where it goes from a liquid into a gas, where you get steam and vapor. That will happen at 1,000 degrees Celsius. We always measure in South Africa, we use Celsius. That's how we measure our temperature. So you will see it'll rise and it'll go up to 100 degrees, and then this is where water will boil. Okay, let me put that over there for you. When we are looking at weather, temperatures are crucial to predicting weather. You will be able to see how you can gauge storms, upcoming storms, or blizzards, freezing cold weather, or heat waves. So we will use temperatures thermometers to measure these different weather patterns that we have. If you have a look here, your cold conditions And when it's snowing, it'll be from freezing, that's 0. Remember, we discussed that over here. That's when water freezes and it becomes snow or ice. It'll go to below. So if we have -3 degrees in Johannesburg or Cape Town, you know it's below 0 and it is cold. All right. So that will be over there. But in South Africa, we're fortunate enough to have very nice weather. So on an average summer's day, we will have a temperature reading 31 degrees. So if you were looking at an analog thermometer, this is what these are, where it's measured on the side, or the one that you stick under your tongue, or the one that you put outside, you will see there 0, and you will go 10, 20, 30. So the color, the mercury will rise up to 31 degrees, and it'll just be over that. Or if you were looking at this thermometer, it would be just above the 30 line over there. That's an average summer's day. Right. Now we're going to go on to human temperatures. A human being, we function, if you go into the shopping centers or you go anywhere now, for us to be healthy, we have to, our temperature has to be roughly around about 36 degrees Celsius. If you are sick and you're running a temperature, it goes higher. So sometimes it'll go up to 40 degrees. Then you're in a lot of trouble and probably you'd need to be hospitalized. So when people have got flu, colds, fevers, their temperature, their body temperature rises. And this will then get measured either by a digital thermometer or by an analog thermometer. And here I have given you information of your rough human temperature. Let's put that down there. Is 36.9 degrees, roughly round about there. Another thing I want to discuss with you, where we touched on weather, is here. I just want to put this up on the board. This is your boiling point, where liquid turns into gas. That's where you boiled a kettle and the water becomes vapor or steam. That is at 100 degrees Celsius. Freezing. It's where liquid turns to a solid. If you have a look, you will see water becomes ice. So when you have water and you put it in the freezer, it will, when it reaches 0 degrees Celsius, it will become solid. It will turn into ice. Okay. Your meat in your freezer. Your freezer will roughly maintain the temperature of -5 degrees Celsius. So you can set your fridge or your freezer to drop the temperature, and you will see over here where I've got my -10, it will be between freezing and -10. That's where your freezer temperature will be. It'll keep your food nice and frozen and fresh for when you need to use it again. Okay. What I'm going to do with you now is you are going to split up into groups of 4. You are going to work together, and I have prepared 4 workstations. On the first workstation, there will be a bowl of ice water. There will be a microwaved bowl of soup, so it is not cold, it's hot. Then you will have boiled water that we will boil in the kettle, and then we will have a bowl of ice cream. At workstation 1, I will give you 2 analog thermometers. They will be similar to these ones. They'll be the stick where the mercury rises and you can see the different temperatures. You will work with 1 thermometer at a time. While you're working with the one, the team before you would have left their thermometer, which you don't use, so that the temperature can come back down to room temperature. Room temperature is what you are feeling now. It is less than your body temperature, which makes you comfortable. When it becomes a really hot day and you're getting to 38, 39, 40 degrees, you become very lethargic, you become tired because it is very, very hot. Okay, so what we're going to do in the first one is you're going to have your thermometer and you will test your ice water, your bowl of soup, your boiled water, and your tub of ice cream. After you have used your findings, I'm going to give you each a worksheet, a little work card. These are the work cards here. You will see there, workstation 1. It'll be that you are measuring temperature measurement. There's your ice water, that's degrees Celsius, so write down what your findings are. There's your soup, write down the findings. Your boiled water, write your temperature down. And your ice cream, write your temperature down. When you are working in your groups, you must pass your ideas between one another so that at least you can hopefully get to the right answer. Okay, that is your first workstation. So each of you are going to have a card like this. Your second workstation is where you are going to estimate. So sometimes we are not going to use a thermometer to get an exact temperature. We're going to roughly guess what the temperature is. So what you're going to get is you're going to get a worksheet. You will see 3 pieces of paper. One will have a picture of Iceland in it. One will have a picture of Amman. It's a desert in Amman. And one will be of Cape Town. And you will be asked questions in those in that workstation. You will be estimating, so you can't measure, you will estimate the rough temperatures of what you think is happening in those areas. There are 3 questions, and you will just write your answers of those 3 questions. In the third workstation, what you are going to be doing is you're going to be calculating. This means that you are going to be given, you will see there's a photograph, you will see it of an oven dial, and there is a question that you're going to have to answer about the temperature that you need your oven to get to. You will write your answer down on that piece of paper, and that will be your finding for workstation 3. Workstation 4, you are going to then walk onto the next workstation. The team that's behind you will move, so you will literally move one at a time into the next workstations that are going to be stationed around in the classroom. You, at workstation 4, you are going to see a photograph of a healthy woman. She's healthy. You can see her hair is glowing, her cheeks are glowing, the sun's shining, she's jumping. So you're going to see a picture of the healthy human. And I want you to tell me what you think that healthy woman's temperature is. You are on the second piece of paper, you're going to be shown a picture of a sick human being. That human being, you can see is a little boy, the mother's touching him, he's obviously running a temperature. There's a thermometer in his mouth that's gauging his temperature, and they are trying to find out what the measurement of his temperature is, remembering if your body temperature goes too high, you can potentially die or go into shock because your body is not used to being at that temperature and all your organs are fighting and they're taking strain. So then you will tell me what you think the temperature of that boy is who is sick. You will then take your card with you and you will go you will sit down, and once everybody has completed their card and their worksheets, we will then sit down, and what we will do is we will then start discussing our findings and we will report on our findings. So I want the groups, once they have finished, you will come up to the front of the class and you will have your answer cards in front of you, and you will discuss what your findings were for workstation 1, 2, 3, and 4. We will then have an open class discussion about whether the rest of the children agreed with your findings or not, and if they did not, the reasons why. Okay, so just to recap, what I want you to look at is why is temperature so important. Remember, we use it for weather, we use it for cooking, we use it to predict. If we look outside and we see that it's freezing cold, we'll put a jersey on, we'll put a scarf on. If we look outside and we see the sun is very hot, we'll make sure that we have suntan cream on. We will have our hats, our clothes, and everything that we need to do. And our activities will be gauged on what the temperature is. So if it's really hot and blistering and you're sweating, you will invariably go and swim. You will like to go and swim after school. You will all get home, maybe you'll meet your friends, you'll jump into your swimming costume and you will go into the swimming pool to cool down. If it is very cold, you're going to go home and you're going to ask your mom for a bowl of soup and maybe a piece of bread, a nice baguette to go with it, because you're trying to warm up. So it gauges temperature, gauges outside, will predict what we're going to do. Temperature outside will also tell you there is a storm warning. In America, they have the tornadoes and they will be able to predict that that's going to happen, so they will go into a level of emergency, and the people there will be saying, batten down your hatches, close your doors, stay inside, don't go outside, look after everybody. Another thing that we spoke about is cooking. We need to gauge the right temperature for our meals to be cooked properly. You don't want to eat raw chicken, and so built into the oven is a thermometer, and that then tells you the temperature that you are going to cook your food at. Right. The one that you can see there is cleaning. Most things, when you need something to be clean, you're going to use heat. In your washing machine, there's also a thermostat in there with a thermometer that'll make sure that the water gets up to 40 degrees or 60 degrees or whatever your setting has been on there, because it's easier to get dirt out using hotter water than it is colder water. And then you'll also see things, people that do high intensive cleaning, they will use high pressure hoses, and sometimes they will use heat to heat that water. And sickness, that's crucially important for us to be able to take our temperature to see if we are ill or to find out what is going on. Remembering, this is my summer's day when I have to wear shorts and a t-shirt because it is so hot outside, and I'm going to swim in the afternoon. Remembering, water freezes at 0 degrees. That is when water becomes a solid, so water turns into ice. That is at 0 degrees. If you go below there, you are either living in a country where it's very, very cold, like Canada or Sweden or some places in Europe, and you go below freezing. If you want to boil temperature, you put the water in your kettle, it's going to go to 100 degrees before water starts becoming hot and becomes vapor and steam. And all our measurements, remember, are in Celsius. So when you record a temperature, you have to go degrees Celsius. That's the measurement of temperature that we use in our country. Here again, you can see snow cold weather. 0, it'll go down to not just to -3, that'll go down to various other temperatures, minus. Okay, there we've discussed that. Boiling point, liquid turns into gas, water becomes vapor. Meat we keep frozen at about -5 degrees Celsius. And you will also look at human temperature, where we discovered health will be at roughly 36 degrees. So I want you to become familiar with your thermometers. These are not digital, okay? So we will use those in cooking, in gauging meat. We can take human temperature with it if it was in another form other than this, and that's what we'll do. These are our digital scanners, our digital thermometers, and we can use those to gauge various different temperatures that we have throughout our daily lives. Remembering, after you have completed all your workstations, you will then report back to the class on what your findings are. Okay, children, have fun. I'm going to hand these out to you. You are going to be split into groups. I'm going to split you into groups, so you're not going to be with your friends. You're going to be with all different individuals around the class, and that is how we're going to start our activity. Have fun and enjoy, guys.